Na 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 moonlight, na 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 in the sky, na 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 you say, na 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 popcorn, na 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 moonlight, na 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 in the sky, na 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 you say, na 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 popcorn.
Sports have been through a little bit of a lag, so that's why it's such a gift that we had documentaries like The Last Dance that came on. We had episodes 3 and 4 last night, which fantastic. Learned a little bit about Rodman, get to learn about his vacation and how he was essentially the main catalyst behind load management, according to Donovan Mitchell. What were some takeaways you guys got from the episode last night?
You know what? I think for me, it just made me appreciate Michael Jordan even more so. And I know, and I say this a lot, I think there's a lot of people that compare Jordan and LeBron, just bring LeBron into the conversation, but it just made me appreciate the work ethic of Jordan. And I just think he's one of those athletes that went beyond basketball and just set the bar for just successful athletes in all sports. And just watching this whole docu-series, he turned out, I think in these episodes, I saw him really as a true leader because he started to become more of, it's me and the ball and getting the shots to win, to kind of buying into Phil Jackson's whole scheme of saying, all right, now I'm going to start passing the ball around and we could do this together as a team. So
yeah, I like how they're really highlighting everybody who was a part of that era. So it was cool to see the Phil Jackson story where he was coaching in Puerto Rico. I knew he played for the Knicks. I didn't know how long he played in the league. And I also thought he invented the triangle offense. So to hear that it came from Tex Winters was pretty interesting. I just like how they're really highlighting everyone who was a part of it. Because yes, Jordan was great, but also Jordan had a lot of greatness around him.
How about Phil's time in Puerto Rico, though? You know, talking about a coach shooting a referee on the court.
No, not the coach, the mayor.
The mayor, yeah. Like, what the hell is going on down there?
His punishment was he couldn't go to home games anymore. So nothing about away games.
Don't you think there's some coaches out there that probably would love to do that, have that opportunity?
If they could get away with it, I'm sure.
You played under Harbaugh. Don't you think that he probably would want to whip something out there a few times?
Yeah, especially at the referees. It's so funny because from an outside perspective, you may think Harbaugh is kind of like crazy or a hard ass, but he was the epitome of a player's coach. He was really cool. The only time he was ever yelling was at a referee. Like he was never yelling at players.
Not to get too off track here, but you had Harbaugh and Belichick. That must have been an interesting one too, as far as like coaching. But all right, back into the documentary though. Like between those two, Phil Jackson and Dennis Rodman were the two main people highlighted last night. Obviously, Michael Jordan's always going to be the main thing, kind of like in the background of this documentary. But I can't decide who partied harder, Phil in his like late 20s, early 30s, or Rodman, because learning why he's the Zen master definitely added some perspective to my thought on Phil Jackson.
Yeah. seeing that Phil was kind of a wild card in his day as well. But at the same time, I don't think anybody partied harder than Rodman. I think he just really set the bar.
Carmen Electra making an appearance out of nowhere too. Still looking like a fox though. Gotta give it up to Carmen. Like fine wine. Let's see here. Dre, what did you kind of like think of the episodes last night?
Oh, they were fantastic, especially getting that peek into Rodman's life. I didn't know that he had been kicked out at 18, right, by his parents, and they basically gave him the boot and said, figure it out on your own. And I think that's a part of what made him so tough, and guys like him on those bad boy Pistons teams, is that they grew up rougher, right? Nowadays, a lot of your pro athletes that are, getting drafted high or, playing really high level NCAA and then go on to the pros, they've gone through these AAU camps and these academies, and there's still some kids that come from rough neighborhoods without a doubt and a little bit rough of an upbringing. But I think it's something special when you have a guy like Rodman who has been homeless, who has had to survive on the street, is seeing things like drug deals going on and all of that stuff. Even though he himself said, hey, I didn't get involved in that stuff. I think it just really shows like how tough it can make you. And then the other thing that I got from that is there's always a lot of discussion about, the Golden State Warriors sort of coming to the end of their dynasty and how media gets to everybody and, just all this pressure. And for me, I was like, I don't know about that, right? Like, it seems like a pretty good life. You've won a bunch of championships in a row. Like, how much pressure could it be? But then you hear a guy like Rodman, who is known for just being, a tough SOB. And even he is like, look, I'm tired of the media's BS. I'm tired of, having all this pressure. Like, I love playing basketball. I'll play basketball for free is the quote that he said. It's just all the other BS, right, that really gets to him. And so even back then, in the 90s, right, the 80s and 90s, pressure still got to people. So I think it just makes that dynasty, when people talk about how difficult it is to maintain a dynasty, I think it gives it a little bit more depth seeing it come from a guy, especially like Rodman, who grew up, in such tough situations.
That 180 though, between seeing Rodman on the Pistons and seeing what he what he turned into with the Spurs and then eventually with the Bulls, between the hair, the Madonna, like from the second he left the Pistons, like completely different character. At least he let his character out, which one of the better moments from there was his first interaction with Phil Jackson, where Phil just said, honestly, it was like one of the worst meetings I ever had. It's crazy that they turned that into, the super team that they eventually became. And it was cool, like you said, seeing Rodman take that next level, that next step in Scotty's absence to be Mike's right-hand guy. Crazy that led to that burnout, which eventually led into the detour, but it was cool seeing that development. Is there any particular favorite part you guys had from the episode?
My favorite part was the fact that they let Rodman go to Vegas. From my time in professional sports, there is no way I could ever see anyone going to a head coach saying, hey, I need to go to Vegas for 48 hours. That would never happen. The coach would just get out of my office. Like, they wouldn't even entertain it. But the fact that they understood that Dennis needed to go blow off some steam and he just needed a quick trip to Vegas.
Yeah. I think a part of that too was the fact that I think Phil Jackson and Dennis Rodman were very, very similar. And they even talked about his interview when he showed up and he was kind of dressed all like super hippie, super casual, and just like didn't get the job. And he's like, listen, when you come back, make sure you wear a suit and we'll get you the job. But it's just like Rodman. I think that's probably kind of why that happened, because I think Phil Jackson really had an understanding of Rodman and understood that in order for him to perform on the court, they needed to let him do this.
Never hurts to have a Native American soul bond either.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, we like to throw ratings kind of like on the episodes. We're doing this for each one. So kind of like our system that we develop, because we do another show where we review sports movies 1 through 5. So 1 being a strikeout, 2 being a foul tip, 3 being a Texas leaguer, 4 warning track power, and 5 home run. Where are you guys on last night's episode? Remember, if it's a home run, you're basically saying perfect episode. Knocked out of the park each and every time.
For me personally, it's hard for me not to say that all of them are home runs, just because these tap into just nostalgia for me, because I was a kid during the epic Bulls run. So I knew that Michael Jordan was amazing. I remember watching some of the games, but this is actually putting the story together for me. So it's just kind of me going back to my childhood, just actually understanding what was going on. So all of these for me are just home runs.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking more along the lines of 4, and I'm using that rating based on the rest of the series so far. I really enjoyed the last 2. The last 2 and the last 1, it was good. I don't know if it was perfect, because there's still more to come, but it was good.
Okay, gotcha. I'm with you guys as well in that 4 warning track power kind of range. And I think as a whole, when we see all 10 episodes, it'll be 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. Out of here. But, I'm kind of coming back from last week because I rated the first 2 as home runs just because, again, we need that sports fix. Dre, where are you at with it?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 3 or 4 as well. I thought these were really engaging episodes. I liked a lot of the history and just understanding everything. I wanted to know more about North Korea, though, to be honest. So that's what it was about. North Korea.
Have you guys seen Dennis Rodman's 30 for 30?
No. That's actually probably a great thing to watch right now.
Watch that. It really highlights a lot of what he went through. But fun fact, Dennis Rodman was my neighbor up until a couple months ago. So it's seeing him around the building and then seeing that documentary come out, it's a lot of things make sense now.
Do you think we're probably a month away from hearing an announcement that Dennis Rodman has been named the supreme leader of North Korea?
I don't know what's going on over there. He's for sure going to get a shrine.
I've not heard the last of Dennis.
I always saw pictures of the hair patterning that was featured in the episode. Had no idea those were supposed to be 33s for Pippen. So name that as a fun fact I learned because of these 2 episodes right here.